YouTubers out there. This is Jerry the Movies with your host, Jerry Saravia. And today we're going to discuss there, and this is Jerry the Movies. So of course today we're going to talk about Beverly Hills Cop 4. And this was something I had been keeping my eye on, this particular sequel, for quite some time. There's been on and off again talk about this project for a long time. In fact, the proposed date at one point was 2009 for a release date of this film. So, much to my surprise, I didn't keep up with news about the film because I had assumed, as I think a lot of people did, that there was going to be a Beverly Hills Cop TV show. And that was announced well over a year ago, and that Eddie Murphy was going to be cast as Axel Foley and would appear periodically throughout the series, and that his son would be the major character in the show, his son being Aaron Foley, and Aaron Foley being played by, if I find the name, here we go, Brandon T. Jackson. So this was the idea. CBS, or rather NBC, was doing this show, Beverly Hills Cop, and that it was going to come, the pilot would be broadcast, and the series, supposedly, I thought had been picked up and would be shown in the fall of 2013. Well, the pilot was shot for the show, but that's it. The series actually was not picked up, which is really very, very strange. What's even stranger is the fact that the NBC executives had taken a look at the pilot and said that Murphy's performance was fantastic. It was really potent, being the word that was used. Eddie Murphy basically stole the show, which, I mean, how can that be a surprise? It's been a while since Eddie Murphy played Axel Foley. The last time was in Beverly Hills Cop 3, the much maligned sequel from 1994 that fizzled at the box office, and it's not a good movie. I know some people don't like Part 2, which came out in 1987, but that's a sequel I actually do enjoy. But of course, the best Beverly Hills Cop is the original, I think. At any rate, but the pilot wasn't picked up. However, people at Paramount had taken a look, I guess, at this pilot and were really surprised by how good Eddie Murphy was in the pilot. So they decided to go ahead and greenlight Beverly Hills Cop 4, which I guess will be released sometime next year, in 2014. Now, there are a couple of things here that don't quite make sense. By the way, one of the two writers that are involved in penning the script for this film are Josh Applebaum and Andre Nemec, who both were responsible for writing Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. Now, there are a couple of things that I don't quite follow here, because if is NBC saying that the only good thing about the pilot was Eddie Murphy's performance? And that doesn't say much for Brandon T. Jackson, then, who is supposedly going to, I guess, was the Beverly Hills Cop of the show, because Axel Foley would stay in Detroit, I guess, and Brandon T. Jackson, as Aaron Foley, Axel's son, would go out to Beverly Hills to escape his father's shadow and join the police department in Beverly Hills. Now, that is actually an interesting new twist to this entire franchise. But now it seems that all they really seemed to like was Eddie Murphy's performance in the show. So that's a little confusing to me. Doesn't mean that the pilot is no good, but the only thing good about it was Eddie Murphy, and that they thought, well, then maybe it is time to bring back Eddie Murphy into the role that I think most mainstream audiences favor over anything else that he has done, and that is as Axel Foley. So now, here's the thing: if they do a fourth film, and they are doing it, and Eddie Murphy, I guess, has actually signed on to do it, are they going to bring in Brandon T. Jackson as the son? Now, that would be interesting, because at least that's kind of a reason for Axel Foley to go back to Beverly Hills yet again. Because the funny thing is, in the first movie, in the first Beverly Hills Cop, Axel Foley was like a fish out of water story, basically. He's from Detroit, his friend is killed by a couple of assassins, and it links to Beverly Hills and something to do with German bearer bonds. And so Axel goes to Beverly Hills, doesn't belong there. He's back where he doesn't belong, basically, which is what the tagline was for the second film. But basically, he goes there, and that's really the genesis of that film. That's what drives the film, that anchors the film, is Eddie Murphy in a place where he doesn't belong. You know, this motor-mouthed, foul-languaged type of Detroit cop who basically makes a fool out of the entire Beverly Hills Police Department, and Billy Rosewood, played by Judge Reinhold, and Sergeant Taggart, played by John Ashton, and so on. And so, but they somehow there's like a mutual respect for one another, and it's almost like a little twist on 48 Hours to a certain extent. Um, but that was the genesis of the first film, so that's the only reason he went to Beverly Hills, is to avenge his friend's death, which is part of the plot of the film. And now in the second Beverly Hills Cop, he actually is already friends with Billy Rosewood and Sergeant Taggart. Like, when did this happen? It's one of the things Leonard Maltin brought up in his review of the film, which is, when do they become friends? I mean, this makes no sense, this transition from the first film. I mean, I guess they would have become friends, but why? I mean, the guy went back to Detroit. They don't want him in Beverly Hills. So he returns to Beverly Hills because Captain Bogomil, um, who we saw in the first film, is gunned down. So he feels a need to go out there and solve that murder, or that attempted murder, rather. Captain Bogomil, he's shot at, but he survives. So that was the idea then, is that Axel feels comfortable going back to Beverly Hills, still a place he doesn't quite belong, in. But in the third film, which is the weakest of the Beverly Hills Cop pictures, Axel Foley goes yet again to Beverly Hills, because this time it seems that some people that have a amusement park called Wonderworld um, are also they're using it as a front for drugs, and they are of course in Detroit. And Axel's boss, who is Inspector Todd, played by Jill Hill, is gunned down, and well, he's killed. So of course he has to avenge his boss's death, and goes to Beverly Hills. The problem with the third film is that there was no element of surprise. So he's in Beverly Hills, and it's just very tired, the whole thing. It's almost like he may as well be a Beverly Hills Cop, because they all kind of accept him there, except for the villains of the film. And I think, that was part of the problem, is that, it's one too many times down the well. So now, with this picture, will they have the son? If the son goes to Beverly Hills and then needs his dad's help for something, that could provide a reason for Axel to go back. If you're still going to call it Beverly Hills Cop, you got to do that. Um, Now, of course, Inspector Todd can't return because he was killed in the third film. And the question is, if the son returns, who is the mother? Now, the mother might be possibly Teresa Randall, who appeared as Axel's first major girlfriend that we had seen in the entire Beverly Hills Cop franchise, which is also very interesting because in the first Beverly Hills Cop, he's friends with Jenna, played by Lisa Eilbacher, if that's how you pronounce her name. And he knew her when they were growing up in Detroit. And of course, they were all friends with the guy who Axel Foley was friends with, that was killed in the first 15 minutes of Beverly Hills Cop, the first film. So anyway, but he never has a relationship with her beyond just being friends. And maybe because she's white and he's black, it's one of those things that's always been some sort of an issue in Hollywood, an interracial relationship. Uh, Even though it's occurred here and there, it's rather rare. It still kind of is. At any rate, in the second film, the women, he sort of just makes these sexual remarks and gestures towards women, but he's never involved with any women. And then there is Captain Bogomil's daughter, who he they share a little peck, but it's nothing. It's just like a friendly peck, and she's there to help him with his investigation into her father's um, attempted, assassination. So, but he's never involved with anyone again. There is no girlfriend. So then finally in the third film, he gets involved with a Wonder World employee, and that's Therese Randall, who ends up with him at the very end of the picture. So is she going to, be the mother? Who knows? Anyway, those are the open-ended questions. So I don't know how they would proceed, or if there even was a mother figure in the pilot for the show. We don't know. Nobody knows because nobody's talking. So anyway, we'll see how it goes. But Beverly Hills Cop 4 is happening. Um, I don't mind seeing Eddie Murphy back, but I would like him to be central to the film, not, kind of a sidekick almost, and give this other actor more screen time because he is Axel Foley. You got to have him at the center of the action. So we'll see. They could do something good with that if they decide to bring the son character into it. We're seeing a lot of these type of father-son sequels lately. Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, A Good Day to Die Hard, so on and so forth. It seems eventually the male hero gets an offspring that, kind of they get together and do some business. They did that even with the sequel to The Mask of Zorro. So we'll see. I don't know. My hopes are up that they will make a better movie than the third film. Third film is I mean, there's some good things in the third film. Being an Axel Foley fan, there are definitely some good moments, but it's so neutered that it's got nothing on what the first two Beverly Hills Cop films offer. So hopefully this will be a return to what makes it fun, which is a little bit raunchy, a little bit of violence, but mostly bringing Eddie Murphy into the center of the action and making a fool out of everybody and trying to walk his way into whatever situation to complete his investigation. Basically, that's what it's always about. So solving a murder or this or that. We'll see. And this is Jerry at the Movies with your host Jerry Sadavia, signing off.